My name is Sylvia, not my real name of course, but I thought it was polite to introduce myself. I am 34 years old, married for 3 years. Here's my story. That day, my husband knew that I would be getting off work before him, and he asked me to stop by the logistics company's office on his own business. Why not? I never deny my husband his requests. I did everything my husband asked and walked from the office to my car. I parked far away. Parking was a big problem. And on the way, my heel broke. I stumbled hard and fell down. 2 passers-by jumped up to me, but I told them I was okay and thanked them for their help. One said, "Okay," and walked away. The other insisted that he would help me up and suggested that I lean on him while I walked to the car. He was so cute and funny. I explained that this help was unnecessary and I wasn't going to walk in one shoe. I'm just going to take both off and walk barefoot. I took off my shoes and walked. The man was still following me. He said he had his own bike shop a block away and had a man with golden hands who could fix absolutely anything and would definitely fix my heel. Imagine the comicality of the situation, your heel being fixed in a bicycle shop. I had a lot of fun at that moment. We almost made it to the car. He was still following me and offering me his services. And I tripped again. And this time I really hurt my toe because I was barefoot. So this guy, let's call him Bob, told me to give him the keys and he would drive. I did give him the keys, and Bob, for some reason, handed me his bag. I think there was some fruit in the bag. And so we go with him to his workshop, and he keeps gabbing about his employee who can fix anything, and that his office has a first aid kit for my finger wound. We arrived and went into a small room with what wheels, frames, handlebars, and the heck of a lot of other bike stuff lying all over the place. Bob started telling the full man in overalls, the whole story of how I tripped in minute detail. And I'm standing barefoot with a bloody toe with a bag of apples in one hand and shoes in the other. Eventually the guy took my shoes and told Bob to get me drunk on coffee upstairs. There was a metal staircase leading upstairs. It was sharp and very uncomfortable to walk barefoot. We went up. There was a little room at the top with a desk and a computer and a water cooler. Bob got the first aid kit from somewhere and for some reason told me to sit on the table, even though there was a chair next to me. He made a very ridiculous fuss with my leg. First he poured water from the water cooler over my foot. He poured it out of a disposable cup right on the floor. Then he got a Band-Aid. The whole time Bob wouldn't shut up and told me he was renting this building from his sister, and some other nonsense that I wasn't listening to. He cleaned my wound and started pouring instant coffee into cups. And I just sat there on the table. I can't stand instant coffee. So I called out to Bob to take his mind off the coffee. He turned around and I hugged him and kissed him. He said he didn't mean anything by it, he just wanted to help and stuff like that. I was so tired of his talk, his talking was so boring. So I yelled out to him, "Bob, shut up," and continued kissing him. Bob resisted for a few more seconds and finally gave in. He was so delicate and shy that I had to unzip and remove everything myself. The whole process kept me thinking I was getting my heel repaired in a bike shop. It was incredibly fun. It was just like a joke. Also, Bob had a really funny snort. I don't know if it was from pleasure or hard work, so I'm looking at him, and I know I'm going to laugh. I know that cheating stories can be told by many of you, but I find the story of my infidelity incredibly funny. While my heel is being fixed in the bike shop, the owner of the bike shop is fucking me on a table and sniffing absurdly. I could hardly contain my laughter. I think if I had laughed, it would have been a huge blow to Bob's male ego, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. When it was over, I asked Bob to ask how my heel was doing. It was done. I hurried downstairs. Bob followed me and said something to me again. I was having a lot of fun. I was just excited about my adventure. I was already getting in the car, and Bob took a huge apple out of the same bag and handed it to me. Damn, that was sweet. I kissed him goodbye and drove home. He shouted something in his wake. I laughed out loud a few times on the ride home. That broken heel had dispelled my boredom in such a positive way. Thank you, Bob.
Story 2. It would be great if you liked our stories, and if you would like to give us your generous likes, that would be just great.
Hello, I have been married for 10 years. I am 37 years old. I think I look my age and I have a perfectly normal appearance. I am not beautiful. In all 10 years of marriage, I have never cheated on my husband. I just did not need it. I want to tell my story. My husband went away for the weekend to visit his father, and I arranged to go sit in a bar with my friend. She wanted to tell me about her new boyfriend. In short, we were going to gossip in female company. 3 hours before our meeting, my friend called and said that she had something urgent to do. She apologized very much, and we postponed the meeting to the next day. Of course, I was disappointed. I had planned to have fun. I had a story to tell my friend. I decided that I would go to the bar alone. I was going to have a few drinks. I really didn't want to stay home because I was already in the mood to have fun. Of course, it wasn't fun at all by myself. I sat and drank one cocktail for about 40 minutes. A man came up to me, and he began the acquaintance simply by the classics. He asked me what I was drinking and ordered the same thing for himself and me. I didn't mind. The man didn't evoke any emotion for me. I couldn't say I liked him very much. I figured he needed me as a listener. He really wanted to talk to someone about his life. It was unbearably boring. I don't know what came over me. I interrupted him and offered him privacy in the bathroom of the bar. I felt like when I told him my voice sounded like someone else's. I didn't expect that from myself. Of course, he said yes. It was extremely awkward, uncomfortable, and of course no fun. I was just very bored at that moment, and I thought there was going to be an adrenaline rush. It wasn't. I'd never had an experience like that before. I was expecting some kind of a storm of emotion, pleasure, whatever. But I didn't think it would be so mundane and boring. I wanted to get rid of the boredom, and the result was much more boring than I expected. We went back to the bar. I still didn't want to go home. And this guy got his way. He did tell me about his life. I hope at least he enjoyed what we had and that he could talk to me.